You know that feeling, right? You've got this big goal, like getting fluent in English, but somehow you just keep putting it off, day after day. Well, that's procrastination. And in the next few minutes, we're going to dig into why our brains do it, and, more importantly, how you can finally get the upper hand.
Ha! Does this feel a little familiar? You set aside the time, you've got your books ready, and then, bam! The next thing you know, you're 3 episodes deep into a new series or watching cat videos. Look, if that's you, you are definitely not alone. This is super, super common. So let's just get on the same page. What is procrastination exactly? Well, at its core, it's just this. You have something important you need to do, but your brain chooses to do something else, something that's probably a lot easier or more fun. It's basically the art of, I'll do it later. All right, but to really tackle this, we've got to understand the why. What is actually happening inside our heads when we make that choice to put things off?
This little chart here just lays it all out so perfectly, doesn't it? Your brain is making a simple cost-benefit analysis. On one side, you've got studying English. The reward? Being fluent, which feels so far away. On the other side, watching a funny video. The reward is instant. It's a quick hit of happiness. And then look at the risk. When you're studying, you might make mistakes, right? It can feel tough. But watching a video, there are no mistakes. It's no wonder our brain is often tempted to take the easy route.
And this is a huge mindset shift. It's so important to get this. Procrastination doesn't mean you're lazy. It's actually your brain just doing its job. It's trying to shield you from things that feel difficult or uncomfortable. It's kind of a built-in safety mechanism.
Okay, so our brains are wired for this. We can't really fight that wiring, right? So how do we work with it? Turns out there are 3 really simple keys to kind of trick our brains into getting started.
And here they are. These are your secret weapons against procrastination. Make it small, make it fun, and make a plan. Let's break down exactly what that means. First up, make it small. Think about it. The idea of studying for 3 whole hours? That's so overwhelming. But 5 minutes? Anyone can do 5 minutes, right? It's such a tiny commitment that your brain doesn't even have time to put up a fight. The goal here is just to lower that barrier so you can just start.
Okay, next up, and honestly, this one is a game changer. Make it fun. If your brain wants that instant reward, well, give it one. Turn your English practice into something you actually enjoy. Watch that movie you've been wanting to see, but hey, watch it in English. Listen to your favorite songs and look up the lyrics. When learning feels like play, procrastination just disappears.
And the third key is to have a plan. Our brains they love a good routine. They love knowing what's coming next. When you have a simple, clear plan like every day after I have my coffee, I'll do 10 minutes of English, it removes all the decision-making. It just becomes an automatic habit like brushing your teeth. All right, so those are the keys to get started. But how do we turn a single action into a real, lasting habit that actually sticks? Let's talk about that. So here are a few extra little tricks to really lock in that habit. First, have a specific spot where you study. It tells your brain, okay, it's time to focus now. Second, give yourself a little treat after you're done. Reinforce that positive behavior. Third, and this is a big one, put your phone somewhere else, far away. And finally, remember that every time you do it, that's a small win. And those small wins build on each other and create real motivation. And this might actually be the most important part of the whole thing. You have to be kind to yourself. You are gonna have off days. It happens. You're human. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. So if you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Just get right back to it the next day. No big deal.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the big 3. Your action plan is simple. Number 1, make it so small you can't possibly say no. Just 5 minutes. Number 2, make it fun so your brain actually wants to do it. And number 3, make a simple plan so it becomes a habit that runs on autopilot.
And that's it. It's a really simple framework for working with your brain, not constantly fighting against it. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's one thing you can do today to make learning English just a little bit more fun? Your answer to that could be the real key to it all. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into something I think, well, pretty much everyone deals with. Procrastination, especially when it comes to those big, important goals, like really getting confident with a new language. We've looked at a bunch of sources on this. Our mission today, to sort of break down what's actually happening in your brain when you put things off and maybe offer some really practical, easy steps to get past it. Because procrastination, I mean, it's basically choosing what feels good now over what you actually want long term.
Exactly. And it's universal, like you said. But when you're aiming for something big, something that needs consistency, man, procrastination is probably the biggest hurdle. It literally stops you from getting where you want to go, like feeling truly confident speaking English, for instance.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Why do our brains seem hardwired to delay the tough stuff?
Yeah.
And then, the crucial part, how do we kind of talk back to that instinct? How do you become the boss of your own study time?
Right, let's dive into the why first. It really goes deep, neurologically speaking. There's this fundamental battle happening inside your head.
A battle. Okay, tell us more. Who's fighting?
Well, you've got on one side your limbic system. Think of it as the fast, impulsive part of your brain. It's older, evolutionarily, and it just wants immediate comfort, immediate pleasure. It loves easy, fun stuff, games, videos, because they give you that dopamine hit right away.
Ah, so that's the voice whispering, grammar looks hard. Maybe just 5 minutes of funny cat videos first. That's the limbic system.
That's it, absolutely. That's the instant gratification seeker winning the immediate argument. And then on the other side, you have your prefrontal cortex. This is the slower, more rational planning part of the brain. It handles the long-term goals, the delayed gratification, the actual hard work of learning something complex. Procrastination is basically when that impulsive limbic system just shouts louder and demands an escape from anything that feels difficult or uncomfortable right now.
So it's not that our brains are lazy, necessarily. It's more like they're following an old script. Seek pleasure, avoid pain, trying to protect us from hard things.
Precisely. It's a protective instinct, in a way. Which leads us right into the second big reason our sources point to. Fear. Specifically, fear avoidance.
Fear. Okay, how does fear drive putting things off?
Well, think about learning a language. There's often a real fear there. Fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding silly, maybe fear of just failing.
Oh yeah, that fear of sounding dumb is huge. It can feel really embarrassing when you can't find the right word or you mess up a sentence.
Exactly. And your brain is not like feeling embarrassed or anxious. So its defense mechanism kicks in. It rationalizes, hey, if we just don't study, then we definitely won't make any mistakes. Problem solved. It's all about immediate emotional safety.
Huh. That's a really interesting way to put it, a weird kind of self-preservation. We choose feeling okay right now over the potential embarrassment, even though that stops us from getting the confidence we want later on.
That's the absolute crux of it. Procrastination gives you that momentary relief, that dodged it feeling. But if it becomes a habit, it fundamentally prevents you from reaching those bigger, more meaningful long-term goals. The short-term win sets you up for long-term failure.
Okay, so if the brain's wired this way, seeking rewards, avoiding fear, how do we actually, work with it or maybe trick it?
Yeah.
What were the key strategies from the sources? Let's get into the how, the toolkit for actually getting things done consistently.
Right. Tip number 1, and this one is maybe the most powerful because it speaks directly to that limbic system. Make it small.
Make it small, okay? Sounds simple, but how small are we talking and why does that work? What's the mechanism?
We're talking really small, like ridiculously small. The idea is to lower the activation energy, that initial push needed to start. If your goal is study for 3 hours, your brain immediately sees a huge mountain and says, nope, too much effort, too daunting. So you need a goal your brain just can't argue with. Commit to just 5 minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay,
Yeah.
I get lowering the barrier, but isn't there a danger you'll just stop after 5 minutes? Like you give yourself permission to do the bare minimum.
That's a really good question. It sounds counterintuitive, maybe, but what the research tends to show is that starting is the hardest part. Once you actually begin and get past that initial resistance, say you're 3 minutes in, the momentum often takes over. It becomes mentally easier to just keep going for another 10 or 20 minutes than it is to stop and switch to something else. You just need to trick yourself over that starting line.
I like that. The hurdle isn't doing the work, it's starting the work.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the next tip?
Tip number 2, make it fun. This tackles the reward system head on. If the brain wants pleasure, let's try to give it some pleasure while learning. Learning really shouldn't feel like a punishment or a chore you have to suffer through.
Right, so instead of grinding through, say, verb conjugation tables for an hour, find ways to learn that feel enjoyable. What kind of examples came up?
Things like watching movies or TV shows you like, but in English, maybe with subtitles first. Or listening to English music and actually looking up the lyrics, playing video games that use English. Anything where you're engaging with the language in a context your brain already sees as enjoyable or relaxing.
That's clever. So you're still learning, picking up vocabulary, getting exposure, but your limbic system is happy because it feels like leisure time, not work.
Precisely. If the activity itself feels good, that immediate reward craving is satisfied by the learning activity. It bypasses the "this feels hard" alarm.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, small and fun. What's the third core strategy?
Tip number 3, have a plan. And not just a vague plan like, I'll study more. You need to be specific. Use what behavioral scientists call an implementation intention. It removes the decision-making stress.
Implementation intention, right? That's the if-then plan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just what you'll do, but specifically when and where.
Exactly. You set up a clear trigger and a clear action, like a map for your brain. The formula is basically, when situation X happens, I will do behavior Y. For instance, when I finish my breakfast, I will review vocabulary flashcards for 10 minutes at the kitchen table.
Oh, okay. So it becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth after breakfast. You don't debate it each morning. You just do it. It minimizes that moment where your brain can jump in and say, ugh, do we have to? You've already made the decision.
Yes. It provides psychological comfort because your brain knows what's coming. No surprises, no negotiation needed. Cuts down on that decision fatigue.
Okay, those 3 seem like a really solid foundation. Make it small, make it fun, have a specific plan. What about bonus tips? Anything else that really helps lock in that consistency?
Definitely. The first bonus strategy is about your environment. Think of it as a pre-commitment strategy. Create a special study space.
You mean like having one specific chair or a corner of a room that's only for studying English, to kind of signal to your brain, okay, it's focus time now.
That's exactly it. That physical space becomes a powerful cue. When you sit there, your brain starts to automatically shift into learning mode almost without you thinking about it.
And I guess part of that special space is also removing the other cues, right? Like that phone buzzing with notifications needs to be somewhere else entirely. Far away.
Absolutely crucial. Minimize those temptations, those easy dopamine hits that your limbic system is looking for. Give your focus a fighting chance.
Okay, makes sense. Environment matters. What was the final, maybe more mindset-oriented tip?
The final one is about managing expectations and self-compassion, really. Be kind to yourself. This is so important because life happens. You'll have days where you're exhausted after work or just feeling completely drained. That's normal. It's okay to rest. But the key is, even on those really tough days, try to do something, even one tiny action, to keep the habit alive.
Okay, but how tiny are we talking here?
Maybe literally just opening your language app and looking at one single word, or reading one sentence aloud. The point isn't really about making progress on that specific day. It's about maintaining the consistency loop, not breaking the chain.
Ah, I see. So the victory isn't learning a lot that day. The victory is simply showing up, even for 10 seconds, keeping the momentum, however small.
Yes, because those tiny wins, even just tapping the app, they prevent the guilt spiral that happens when you skip a day, then another, then another. It reinforces the identity of I am someone who studies, even on hard days. It builds trust with yourself.
So looking at the bigger picture then, the mindset shift is about acknowledging that your brain is trying to protect you with these impulses, thanking it, maybe, but then consciously choosing to move forward anyway, using these strategies. Small steps, fun activities, clear plans. You're the boss, not the impulse.
That's a great way to frame it. And, you know, these principles, they're not just for language learning. They work for anything you're procrastinating on. Cleaning the house, starting exercise. Start small, make it rewarding, have a plan.
Okay, let's quickly recap the core ideas from the subsys then. We battle that impulsive brain by making the start tiny, lowering the activation energy. We make a specific plan implementation intentions to avoid decision fatigue. And we keep the momentum going with the consistency loop, even on bad days.
Exactly. And remember, procrastination itself is normal. It's how your brain is wired. The goal isn't to eliminate the feeling, but to have strategies to act despite it. Consistency really is everything for long-term goals like learning a language. It's a journey. There will be good days and bad days, and that's completely okay.
What really sticks with me is that idea of actively training your brain. If you make sure that doing the hard thing, even just 5 minutes, is immediately followed by something genuinely pleasant, like that cup of tea, or yes, even 5 minutes of cat videos. How else could you deliberately structure those immediate rewards to teach your limbic system that effort isn't just pain, but actually the fastest path to feeling good? It's definitely something to think about.
Rewiring that association, making effort predict reward. That's powerful.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into this procrastinating brain. We hope these small science-backed steps help you on your learning journey, whatever it may be.